Derrick Broze. This is Derrick Broze. This is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance. I'm here in Standing Rock.
That man is wanted in 5 different countries: Chile, Argentina, Brazil.
We've been fighting a long time. We've all lost so very much. So many loved ones gone.
Don't you fucking tease that horse!
You are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. Above all, stay alive. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
All right. Welcome to the Conscious Resistance Live episode. I can't remember. I totally forgot what episode, but it's another week and I'm doing this. And it's actually been probably about 6 months since I've last done a weekly episode of my podcast, which we call the Conscious Resistance Live. And I'm very appreciative to everybody who's tuned in right now. Thank you to the Erie Fairy Superstar, everybody who's tuned in, whether you're watching via Facebook, YouTube, and thankful to everybody who's watching via Float. The Float app is definitely one of the alternative social media platforms that I'm going to encourage you guys to get into. So before we get into tonight's episode, which is titled The Conscious Resistance Live, what is the Conscious Agora? There are a few issues, a few topics I want to address. First of all, as this comment is saying right here, tell me everyone saw what happened to The Last American Vagabond. That's TLAV. So for those who don't know, The Last American Vagabond is the channel website of a friend of mine, Ryan, who has been, producing content, just amazing content for years. And in the last months, we've started to collaborate. I am now a writer for his website. I actually just wrote a new article today, which will hopefully be out tonight or tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Ryan was broadcasting today, and he was talking about, of course, COVID-19, and he was getting into the fact that COVID-19, that what we are told is COVID-19 has never been isolated. And so people, everything that we're told could be based on a lie. Imagine that. And the point here is that while Ryan was streaming, his stream was cut midstream, and it was taken down. And I just saw on Twitter a few months ago, he was saying that they were accusing him of trying to impersonate himself. So they basically they took down his video and they blocked access to his account. And look, there's all kinds of screwy things going on YouTube and Facebook. I actually did a video earlier today for those who might have seen that. It's up on our website, theconsciousresistance.com. And this is the point where I'm going to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com, specifically because of the things I'm talking about, because people like Ryan, people like myself, people like James Corbett, and plenty of other researchers who do factual, good content are being deleted. They're being censored. And people who are out there just talking about all kinds of nonsense that is not factual, they're not being messed with. Not that I think that they should be. I'm not for censorship at all. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting how those people, Ben Swan, Ryan, myself, James Corbett, Whitney Webb, plenty of other people have been censored or messed with on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube for trying to bring you the truth. And often we're using the establishment, the media, or the government institutions that we're researching, we're using their own documents and their own words, and still, we're called fake news, or we're labeled one word, something, just whatever they need to say to get us taken down is the whole point. So with that in mind, guys, please do bookmark theconsciousresistance.com, bookmark thelast.americanvagabond.com, bookmark corbettreport.com. Visit these websites on a weekly basis. I know a lot of you consume a lot of content, and I appreciate that. Honestly, I can't even keep up. I try to keep up with a few of my favorite content creators. I try to create my own videos, create my own articles, find some time to read and learn more. And it's a lot to keep up with. Sometimes I don't know how the hell you guys do it, but I'm thankful that you guys make the effort. So if you could just make one little effort, stop relying on Facebook, stop relying on YouTube, bookmark, Control-D, theconsciousresistance.com, save it in your bookmark tabs. And also go over here and check out, maybe this is one piece of homework for you this weekend. Check out one of these alternative social networks. Float.app. I really support Float. I know the creators, and they're good people, and they're not going to censor anybody. Minds. I also know the owner of Minds, and they're not going to censor anybody. It's blockchain-based. Hive. Hive is another blockchain-based platform. And then we also have Library and BitChute. As I said earlier today, all of my videos are backed up there because I've had several videos taken down this week from YouTube. I also want to remind you guys to sign up for my text list. If you were on my text list about 5 minutes ago, you would have got a text that said, "Hey, I'm going live now. Here's the video. Here's the title of the video. Here's the link." And you could go straight to that link and watch it live, or you can just catch it whenever you want. Also follow our Telegram channel. I have a personal Telegram channel that is a different link from there. If anybody's interested, let me know. It's just called Derrick Broze's Daily News. We got about 500 people on there. We also have a chat, and so lots of stuff going on if you want to stay plugged into our work. Before we get into the topic of conversation, though, what is the Conscious Agora? What the heck do I mean by that? I actually do want to go ahead and just do a quick rundown, if you guys don't mind, of the content that we put out in the last week, because I know, again, there's a lot of content to keep up with. Even if you're just paying attention to, say, one channel, like myself and others, myself or Ben Swan or Last American Vagabond, it's a lot to keep up with, because, as I said, I'm writing articles every week. I'm producing videos Monday through Friday. So let's just kind of take a look at the last week. In the last week, this is all the content that I've produced. New Zealand and Australia, the police state goes live. Absolutely check that out, especially if you're not Australian or New Zealand, because those are friends, brothers and sisters of ours that are struggling and dealing with the police state. We covered that. I did 2 COVID studies that you need to see, that I wrote an article about, talking about the rise in authoritarianism in response to the spread of pathogens, and also another research showing that Americans are greatly misunderstanding how deadly COVID is, and they're just totally exaggerating how bad it is and what groups it's affecting. Also this weekend, if you've never seen this show, Sovereign Love Stream, these are 2 of our other content creators, my buddy Danny and his wife, his partner Vanessa, both amazing people, and they do these weekly episodes about relationships. Conscious Resistance is not just about politics, it's about personal empowerment, spiritual empowerment. They do some great episodes. They did one this weekend on to spank or not to spank. I did an interview the other day with Sonia Poulton, exposing pedophiles in the UK Parliament. It's a great interview. She talks a lot about her history. I highly recommend that. Please do check that out. Also, finally, someone in the MSM exposes Bill Gates. Journalism Review did a great piece investigating all the different roles that Bill Gates is playing and keeping you in the dark, and also talked about some of my previous articles on Bill Gates. We also released this video, The Truth About August 1st Anti-Lockdown Protest in Berlin, which, by the way, I want to say this, guys, this was not produced by me. I saw some of you saying, thank you, Derrick. And, you can thank me for posting it, but this was made by Laura Kern from Bavaria in Germany. Thank you, Laura. And thank you to everybody, all our friends, again, brothers and sisters in a different part of the world in Germany who are, what time is it? Like they're probably already in bed right now. I'd imagine most of them are in bed. The people who are going to go protest, they went to bed with dreams of freedom and ready to wake up tomorrow and go protest against lockdowns, because the entire month of August, there have been several protests, massive protests with hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people. There's supposed to be another one tomorrow in the UK and Berlin and several places across the European Union. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is actually in Berlin right now. There was a press conference earlier today. So my point was that Laura contacted me and said, hey, since the media is calling everybody protesting right-wingers, Nazis, conspiracy theorists, I put together this documentary. Would you be willing to share it? And absolutely, I'm willing to share it. She might make another documentary about this weekend's protests. So check that out. And just, last night radio, The People Divided. And I want to say on that note, we are also, we are now, you can find, let me just pull this up for you guys. You can find the Freethinker Radio podcast on Stitcher, and soon all of the Conscious Resistance recordings, all my videos, I'm going to be turning them into podcast formats, and you will be able to find them on Stitcher and on Spotify. I'm working on getting on that. I had several people telling me that if my work was on Stitcher, or excuse me, on Spotify. I'm showing you guys the back end of my podcast. I use Pinecast, by the way. But if people had told me that if my work was on Spotify, that I would reach more people, or that they could share it with friends and family. So I'm going to make the extra effort. But right here, you can see we have a Freethinker Radio podcasting page now. If you just prefer to listen to the audio, you can always come here. You can download it, or you can see it through the Conscious Resistance. And then right here on the Conscious Resistance podcast page, all I have so far is my interview with Sonia. But I have 10 years worth of work that I'm going to slowly add to this. I'm going to put the 5G documentary. I'm going to put the Finders documentary. I'm going to put all the interviews I've done with people over the years and have that set up there so that you can find it as a podcast through Stitcher, Spotify, and all those other ones. There's too many of them to name. But the point is, we'll get it there. We'll get it on there soon, and hopefully you guys can find our content there. So then we also, just this morning, like I said, I did another video. More Conscious Resistance videos have been removed. So that was just this week. And then I'll remind you from a couple weeks ago, the Great Reset. Where do we go from here? Now, I'm hoping I'm not boring you guys too much, but my point with saying all this is that I put out a lot of content. I know there's people who do a lot more. That's fine. I try to put out at least a video a day, a video every couple days, but I don't force myself. So I want you to know that if you see a video coming out from me, it's because I feel it's necessary. I'm not trying to just meet some quota or crank out a bunch of videos so I can get YouTube hits and get monetization. I'm not monetized. I've never been monetized by Google or any of that stuff. The only funding I get is from writing articles for Ryan and from you guys, all of my Patreon supporters who I'm very thankful, and all of those who invest in my work. Like we had $3,100 invested in the Pyramid of Power documentary. So thank you to everybody who supported that. Now I'm going to be able to pay my editor, and we're going to put out the most epic 12-part documentary that I think is going to blow people's minds, and I'm really excited about that. So my point with saying all that is we've got a lot of content. Catch up on it if you can. Visit theconsciousresistance.com. Share our work. Share my work far and wide if you can. If you value the work that myself and John Bush and Danny and Johan and all the other people on our team do, then please, please, please share our work, because it's more important than ever. We're being censored more than ever. So before we get into the question, the topic of the night, let me just check out the comments. How's everybody doing? Please give me some thumbs up if you like thumbs up. I will let you know, everybody who does not give thumbs up is going straight to the quarantine center. It's the new rule. We're doing it. Sorry, just deal with it. So no thumbs up equals headed to the quarantine center for reconditioning. So thank you. And please give us your thumbs or you will be sent off. Also, somebody said Dublin is protesting tomorrow. I have seen that, Karen. Thank you for reminding me. I have seen that there's a good amount of action. And this is the thing. I have people emailing me from all around the world trying to share with me what they're doing, and I appreciate that. So tomorrow, Berlin, Dublin, somewhere in the UK, maybe it's London, I don't remember where exactly. And we had comments like this: the video about Berlin was awesome. I got seriously choked up. How do we create that kind of solidarity here? I feel we need to have all groups, regardless of political affiliation, who are against lockdowns and mandate join forces. We are too compartmentalized. And I just want to add to that, what was your name? Sorry, Lina. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I agree with you. We are too compartmentalized. We are too broken down. We are too separated. Unfortunately, I do not think we're going to see the kind of unity in the United States that we're seeing in, say, Berlin or Dublin and some of these other places. And maybe that's just me being pessimistic, but this is one of the reasons why I'm leaving the United States. This is the Conscious Agora is my intentional community project that I'm beginning to build in Mexico. This is something I've been writing about for 4 years. I was originally planning to do this in Texas, but the way things have progressed over the last 4 years and the more divided we've become, I've personally realized I don't think there's any hope in saving the United States. And I'm not saying that to be a fearmonger or to freak anybody out, but I'm just saying I think it's basically at a point where not only does the media and people like, what's his name? Freaking Bill Gates and all these other people have so much control of the media and able to push their agendas when it comes to health, but they've got the fact checkers. I mean, they are doing such a great job. I really have to give it to the predator class. It's a brilliant plan. They've studied psychology of humans for decades, for generations. They understand how to manipulate us, how to make us fight against each other. They're doing a great job. So rather than, as the comment a moment ago said, that if we could get people together, regardless of political, unfortunately, the media does a great job of dividing that. Oh, it's only the right wing that cares about this. And then, of course, Trump plays a role too. I know some of you who tune into my show, you're still holding this belief that Trump's a good guy. He's an actor. He was literally in the freaking WWF wrestling, being an actor before. He was on a TV show. He is the Trump card of the new normal order. And he is playing his role. His role is to be the most hated man ever, and the media does their role of attacking him and acting like, he's literally Hitler. He's definitely up in the fascism game, as it progressively does with every president. And you better believe whether it's Biden or Trump, it's going to get worse. Sorry, it's going to get worse. The way at least government, doesn't mean we as people won't achieve great things, but when it comes to government, it is progressively getting worse, more totalitarian, more fascist, more control, and eventually technocracy out in full bloom. So they're able to do a great job of dividing us and keeping us from organizing on any level. So it's the left wing says, come, just wear your mask, and then they call them, every side has a name for it, right? We're the anti-maskers or the COVIDiots or mask holes. And the people who don't like the mask call the other side mask holes. People who like the mask call the people who won't wear the mask holes. People who think COVID is legit and it's the worst thing ever call the idiots who don't listen COVIDiots. And the people who are like, it's totally fake. Why aren't you listening, you bunch of COVID idiots? So we're not doing a good job of progressing and building bridges. I've talked about this recently in some of my podcasts, that 10 years ago when I first started my activism, there was much more unity. I saw a lot of protests where it was left-wing groups and right-wing groups marching together for police brutality action day, libertarians and conservatives coming together because we focused on the issues where we had alignment: ending the drug war, ending surveillance, ending the war, and the Wall Street bankers. Because whether or not your solution is you think that, we need to tax the rich, or you're trying to abolish the Fed, everybody sees that the banking class is a huge part of the problem. Unfortunately, within a decade, all of that's been wiped out. And here we are now. Nobody's making a freaking, well, I don't say nobody. Clearly, people like us are doing so. But in the mainstream, nobody's acknowledging that we are witnessing another huge wealth transfer, much like after the 2008 financial collapse. But this time it's all being done under the cover of COVID-19. And Donald Trump is using the Stanford Acts, the Defense Production Act, something along the lines where they basically can allow the government to seize certain industries, like, for example, Kodak, the people. All right. I think I disappeared for a second. Hopefully you guys can hear me. With technology today. What I was saying, hopefully you guys got what I was saying, talking about the Defense Production Acts, the Stanford Act, how they're able to seize companies, not seize completely, not yet, but to say, we're going to give a bunch of taxpayer dollars to Kodak and say, you have to turn your whole business around and make it a business that is focused on creating chemicals and doing things more friendly and helpful towards the COVID-19 fight. It's much like, we're in World War I and the government needs to seize all the industry and direct all resources to go fighting the war. Well, from the very beginning, they've been using war terminology. We're in a war against the silent, killer, the COVID-19, and so like a war, Donald Trump and his administration, and with support of the Democrats, of course, they have been giving taxpayer dollars to various industries to prop them up or to kind of totally restructure them to make them, since they say, well, since Kodak has dealt with chemicals for years when it comes to film, we're just going to change their industry to being about chemicals that can go towards helping COVID with vaccines. So the point here is that I just don't really see much hope in the United States becoming organized in any way. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be pockets of resistance, because yes, I do believe in pockets of resistance. And yes, Epic Vibration says 3M, that's another one. They make the mask. They make so much, like Trump did with an executive order with masks and ventilators. First thing I thought. So the point here is that there are pockets of resistance happening. Many of you know that I promote the concept of freedom cells, and freedom cells have been growing like crazy since this whole COVID thing began, this COVID panic, whatever you want to call it. I'll just call it a COVID crisis so I don't trigger or offend anybody. But the COVID crisis, once it began, we started getting hundreds and hundreds of emails. And I've gotten them personally. I know John, I see on this channel, he's been doing podcasts and interviews promoting it. I've been promoting it for the last few years. And it's now grown to the point where we have members. If you come here and you join freedomcells.org and you sign up, again, if you have problems signing up, just contact me and I'll help you get set up. But if you come here and you check out the map, you can see that this map is just blowing up with people from all around the world. We have so many people who are interested, trying to find a way to unplug from these systems. That doesn't mean they're all anarchists or abolitionists or left-wing or right-wing. It's a diverse group of people. But the point is that it's blowing up, guys. Let me just show you the map here real quick while it loads very slowly. This is what it looks like right now. This is people from all around the world who have joined. Now, of course, not everybody here is probably active all the time, but I mean, this is much bigger than it used to be. And people in Australia, people down in South America, even some parts of Africa, all across Europe, all across the United States. We're getting into Southeast Asia now. There's, of course, people in India. So if you're looking for people, if you want to be that pocket of resistance, and resistance can mean many things. When I talk about the conscious resistance, I don't mean physically going and fighting and opposing these people. Although I do think at some point we are going to have to defend ourselves against violent thugs from the government and other crazy violent thugs who believe that their way is the right way. But for the moment, resistance is growing your own food. Resistance is healing your own trauma. Resistance is, treating other people the way you want to be treated. Resistance is finding ways to avoid paying taxes. Resistance is finding ways to stop using the banks that are funding all these crazy projects and robbing us blind. Now, that's my personal view. You all do what you think is necessary for your life. I will say I don't think we can very much argue about breaking free from the system while we're still using the systems, including the banks and paying taxes to governments. But that's my personal view. I know we could have debates all day about that. At the end of the day, though, my message, what I'm doing, the path I'm choosing is to build freedom cells, to build this network of intentional communities that are based around the principles that we're about to go over. And for me, this is going to lead towards more freedom, more health and happiness in my life. Because guys, personally, I'm 35 right now, and I've known for at least the last 5 years that this society, civilization, is not what I desire for my life, for my future, for my progeny, for any children. I'm not going to work for the next 35 years, 40 years, and then retire and then go travel the world, or just, I'm not going to do that. That's not for me. You guys can do that if it fits you. Maybe you should rethink if it does really fit you, or if you're just following somebody else's plan. But for me, I recognize that I don't want to go to the grocery store for the rest of my life. I don't want to be dependent on the grocery store for the rest. I don't want to come home and have everything that I eat wrapped in plastic, or every time I go out, company or another shitty company. And of course, there are more and more better companies in the market, and that's awesome because the consumer is showing that we have a demand for better products and for more locally sourced and all these great things. But the point is, no matter what, when I'm engaged in this civilization, this society, I am kind of working against myself. I'm sort of, in my view, violating my own principles. And I think I'm making it for myself to actually get to where I want to go. So I don't see a future for me personally that involves just staying put and doing what people are doing. And, theoretically, I could stay here. I could do weekly YouTube videos. I could write articles. I could watch the world get worse, telling you guys, hey, please pay attention. I could keep doing activism. I could keep doing journalism and stay here in Houston. I'm in a big city. I could have all my needs met. There's grocery stores here, all this stuff. But we all know this is not going to last forever. These systems are unsustainable and they will break down. They're already breaking down. And this is why the predator class is trying to push for their great reset. I believe it's time for the people's great reset, or a greater reset, whatever you want to call it. The point is, use this moment and these current moments, if you haven't already prior to this, as a catalyst to start thinking about the direction you are headed with your life, rethinking where you've been going and the direction and the path you're on. Does that really serve you? And is that really going to lead you to your goal? My final goal is to be, not final goal, but one of my major goals is to be sitting on a piece of land that I own as much as I can own. I believe I'm steward of the earth and the land, but a piece of land in my name with the person that I love and the animals that I love and other people either on that same piece of land or adjacent to where we're living, just all around each other, creating a village, living in harmony, growing our own food, using permaculture, and being prepared to defend ourselves at any time from, say, government thugs, from cartel, from some crazy kid down the street who thinks he gets, a great idea to come rob somebody. The point is that I just can't live in this society, guys. I'm sorry. Maybe that's weird. I've never felt right in this, felt like this matrix works for me. And yeah, we are surrounded by brainwashed people. We're outnumbered. I can't do it. I can't stay here and live in this world and still be me. It doesn't feel like I'm living in line with my values when I'm in this world. So I'm shifting more and more towards the Conscious Agora, aka what I've been calling the Mexico Project. Is officially, as in, I stamped it and the government approved, right? That I'm calling it the Conscious Agora. And I want to tell you guys about where that idea comes from. First off, let's take a look at my third book real quick. Again, thanks everybody who's tuning in. My name is Derrick Broze. If somehow you got here and you're new, please subscribe, like, follow, share, all that good stuff. And, let's do the fun thing we do sometimes. And I can share all the comments. Wherever you're listening from right now, comment and let people know where you're tuned in from. And maybe you can find somebody in your area who might be nearby and you can start collaborating and getting connected. Also, for sure, be sure to join freedomcells.org if you want to get connected and find other people. Exactly. We need free, self-sustaining communities in harmony with nature, not dependent on the system. It is literally the only way I see forward. I do not see any way forward just sitting still. So guys, what we're looking at here is a book that I released in April 7th, 2017 with my buddy John Vibes. It's called Manifesto of the Free Humans. And I love this book. I think that 3 years have passed and this book nearly says everything I still want to. John and I are actually in the process of completing an updated 5-year edition of the Conscious Resistance trilogy. We're going to be done by this weekend, and then it's going to be sent off to the publishers. It's going to be updated, edited, and then translated to German and French, and will be released this fall. And I'm so excited because, guys, what we've been doing with these books is so much better than they were originally. I love the books originally, but now, we've learned a lot in the last 5 years. This, though, was really focused on elaborating on mine and John's philosophy on what is agorism, vertical and horizontal agorism. How do we create spontaneous order in the marketplace without government? How do we provide public services peacefully without government? What does it mean to be a steward of the earth? What is the authoritarian right and left? We're seeing a lot of that. And we also get into this final part here, part 3 of the book, creating conscious agoras. And that's what we're going to look at right now. And what the heck do I mean by conscious agora? So the third part of the book is called Creating Conscious Agoras. And we go through describing what this vision I have and that John shares. I don't know that John, my buddy John Bush, John Vibes, will ever come live in the community because he's very much a homebody where he lives out in a cabin in the woods and he's pretty set. But he will always have a home in this place. The goal of this final part of the Manifesto of the Free Humans, which, by the way, is available to download for free on our website, pertains to both of our specific preferences for a conscious agora existing in a stateless society. Now, let me explain those terms. Agora is the Greek word for marketplace. And the reason I'm using that terminology is because many of you know that I'm an anarchist and that I promote the philosophy of agorism, which comes from the Greek word agora. And, conscious resistance, to me, I'm trying to not just be an anarchist and opt out of the system. I'm trying to evolve as a human being, as a spirit, as a being that is both physical, spiritual, and mental, evolve in all these different ways. And I want to live with other people who have the same desires. I'm not going to just live with a bunch of people who are, let's go get some land and just build homes that are still dependent on the same electrical systems, that are still dependent on the same sewage systems. Like, that's not for me. You do what you want on your piece of land, and that's fine. But for me personally, I'm trying to break free all the way. I don't want to be locked out of their, they can lock me out because I'm not going to need them. I don't want to be dependent on their systems. So we're trying to create conscious agoras. And I do believe and hope and work towards a day of a stateless society where people recognize the violence that is government, and that left and right are no different. Kamala, Biden, Trump, they're all criminals as far as I'm concerned. And the fact that some of you believe that they're necessary to make our decisions, it just shows how screwed up this world is. However, I don't have hopes for an anarchist society and anarchist evolution. I gave up on that long ago, just like I gave up on some sort of global vegan evolution. I have my preferences for my diet. I have my preferences for my life. And instead of waiting around for you guys to do something about it, or for somebody to, take my vote and do something with it, I'm just going to create the world I want. I'm going to live in the world I want. I'm going to be on a piece of land, like I was saying, where I have animals. I've got my friends and people I care about. Hopefully my family will come, and we're growing our own food. We're using solar and other passive systems to harvest energy and harvest rainwater. And once those systems are set up and redundant, it's not really going to be, there's work to get it done. But once it's set up, guys, it's just maintaining it. You don't have to work hard for the rest of your life. Now, it's important to remember that we do not believe in a one-size-fit-all model and are not attempting to state that every free community should organize in the fashion described in the following pages. Obviously, our subjective preferences are contained in these chapters, but we see our ideal community as existing among the myriad of diverse, unique communities that will exist in a truly free marketplace of ideas. We encourage the reader to take our words and review them and compare them to your own values and principles. Do our ideas measure up to your vision? If not, please take what you can learn from our efforts and adapt them to their own needs. We believe, and this is so cool for me because I wrote this in 2016 with John, having no idea how the hell I was going to make this happen, but I knew 2020 was going to be the year. We believe in freedom, and thus we believe in diversity. Our vision of intentional community will be one among the many coexisting communities, microstates, communes, neighborhoods, and other yet-to-be-discovered ways of self-organizing. The actual formation of such a community is slated to begin in early 2020. Well, the world kind of went a little crazy. Here we are, and the last quarter of 2020, but plans are moving along. We will spend the next 4 years building towards this goal via the Freedom Cell movement. While the political system continues to disappoint the masses, freedom cells and agorism offer a bright future. And honestly, that's kind of panned out. Here I am, 2020, getting ready to do this. The political system continues to disappoint people. I had no idea how divided people were going to get. But I still do think freedom cells and opting out of the system are becoming a lot more attractive to people. Now, the next 3 chapters, I'm not going to read these chapters. I'm just going to show you guys an image that we put together, and I will encourage you to read this on your own. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because some of you have expressed an interest in coming down to Mexico or getting to know what I'm doing. If you're interested, after you hear this, then I want you to email exit and build. That's the word exit and build, as in you're going to exit the place you live and build somewhere else. Exit and build at protonmail.com. That is the only place I'm responding to questions about Mexico or about the Conscious Agora. So I'll say that a couple more times throughout this video, but please exit and build. Do not comment below and ask me what the email is. Exit and build at protonmail.com. So the next 3 chapters explain the points of unity for this coming intentional community. And points of unity just means points of unity, things that we're going to agree on and work towards. And these are the 3 main uniting principles that bring together what I'm calling the Conscious Agora. And of course, out of these 3 main principles, a lot of other ideas flow. But 1, the sovereignty of the individual, self-ownership, which also leads to the non-aggression principle. Permagora, which is just the bringing together of permaculture, and permanent culture is the bringing together of permanent and agriculture. It's a set of design principles, and I've recently just started to take a permaculture design certification course, which I will complete in the coming months. Bringing together permaculture and agorism creates permagora. So we're bringing that together. And then mindfulness. And of course, mindfulness is sort of a generalized word, but for practices that are about mindfulness and raising, elevating ourselves, trying to become better than where we are right now. When combined with a counter-economic strategy, and counter-economic means, again, opting out. The counter-economy is essentially just the economy, the marketplace of transactions and financial transactions and services that are outside of the state's hands because the government says they're illegal or because they want you to get a license. So if you go cut somebody's lawn without a license, you cut somebody's hair without a license, you do somebody's makeup without a license, you sell somebody some weed illegally, those are all gray and black market counter-economic actions. The idea being that as we take our money away from the state out of the white market, the mainstream tax accounted IRS watched economy, and we move towards the counter economy, we're taking our money, our time, our energy, our resources away from the state, and we're building something better. So when you combine the sovereignty of the individual, permagora, and mindfulness with the principles of the counter economy, this leads to the realization of what I call the Conscious Agora. So I'm going to show you guys a picture here. I got to find it. I really do recommend you guys going and reading this if you haven't. The chapters are not very long. And I wrote this when I was learning so much about what the community that I was trying to build. I'm going to read you guys this one section, and then we're going to show this graphic. Within this free agora, and what I mean by that is, actually, let me just scroll back up a little bit. Let me start one paragraph. Okay. So here's my kind of hope that I wrote 4 years ago. And this is what, I'm envisioning. So I'm talking about getting land to establish an intentional community. This will require purchasing land and, unfortunately, paying property taxes. Of course, agoras should always strive to opt out of taxation. However, in the current political climate, it seems inevitable that free humans will best served with a piece of land with which to build for the future and propagate the message of freedom. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to establish a safe hold where I can safely continue to put my message out, because doing what I do and what other people do, and those of you who are following our work, it's not going to be safe to do in the United States very soon. It's already not safe in the United States. But you better believe that if they do, if the government or some tyrannical force from the right or left ever starts getting more and more power, they are going to try to shut down the counter-revolutionaries or the people who are too outspoken. So I need a safe piece of land to live in line with my principles and to do so safely, and maybe eventually to start a family. By purchasing the land before the state collapses or is defeated, we hope to be proactive in our efforts to build the counter economy and the coming agora. It has become increasingly difficult to sit by and live among mainstream society, all the while contributing to unsustainable systems that do not serve to harmonize relationships between the inhabitants of this planet. The hope is that while we are able to gain a foothold on a piece of land and continue to propagate the agorist message until the state becomes weak enough that our community decides we are no longer under threat to pay property taxes. So basically what I'm saying is that I will probably have to be extorted in one way or another, whether I'm in the United States or Mexico, and pay some sort of fees or permits or something, right, just to get things going. Eventually, though, and this is why I prefer Mexico to the U.S., because the Mexican government is already kind of weaker compared to the U.S., is that in many places you can just bribe people. You can get away with saying, like, no, we're not going to do that. In the U.S., that's not going to work. If you try to not pay property taxes, they will come take your land. The freedom of land also allows a freedom cell to grow their own food, cultivate independence via economic activity, and maintain a level of privacy from government and their loyalists. A freedom cell could use the land to build community centers for hosting meetups, counter-economic markets, radical musical festivals, skill shares, and cell building. Within this free agora, each member of the freedom cell will be free to make a living as they please, using any currency they choose, grow what food they want, and build whatever home they choose. Obviously, a community can decide to only permit vegans, for example, or allow only sustainable methods of buildings to be used, but each individual entering into the community will be made fully aware of any contractual obligations that may exist. So all that's saying is that, like, look, I have a very specific vision of the community I want to build. I'm looking for 25 acres for me and Miriam and maybe a couple other people we trust to build on. But I would love to live next to many of you who have similar ideas and similar values, but maybe your community is going to be slightly different in the way that you grow your food or the diet that you have or whatever it may be. But as long as we can all agree about sovereignty of the individual, self-ownership, and these core principles, then we're going to be fine. Our main goal is to establish that every single person choosing to live within the walls of our community is free to do as they please, provided they are not harming anyone else. The intentional community that will begin in 2020 only has 2 other stipulations for potential community members, and that's where we get to this image here. Make sure you guys can see that real quick. All right, looks like you guys can see that pretty clear. The agora sounds like a commune. So let me, I don't know, Rupert, can you define commune? I'm guessing when you say commune, you mean something like communist or something. I've noticed that there's, with the right wing, it's funny, there's such an aversion to getting organized and actually to having land. You know, I've had people say that I'm trying to build a cult. I'm trying to, I'm trying to, create a commune of a bunch of hippies and just, I mean, people have so many bullshit ideas about this. But the thing is, I've actually written books on this. All the stuff I want to do is in writing. So right there, what you're looking at is a kind of a graphic of there. Sovereignty of the individual at the top, which is self-ownership, leads to the non-aggression principle. And the bottom right corner, you have mindfulness. That's things like nonviolent communication, meditation, it can be a yoga, a number of different practices, basically wellness practices that we as a group decide we're going to come together. We're going to make sure we're all having a community weekly dinner just so we can check in with each other and make sure that there's proper communication. Because in my experience, most problems in our world are because of lack of communication or miscommunication, just communication problems in general. So that opens up a whole door to things, which will be dependent on the people involved, right? Maybe people think, all right, we're going to do a weekly meditation to just kind of stay in a good vibe with each other. We're going to make sure we all sit down and spend some time together to talk about the problems and things we have. And then we have Permagora in the bottom left. Permagora, as I said, is bringing together permaculture and agorism. And permaculture is, let me see if I can pull it up real quick for you guys. I've recently, as I mentioned, kind of started a course that I'm taking. It's a 6-month course, and it's into permaculture, and we're going through the permaculture design principles. It's a 6-month long course, so we're going to be learning everything from how to do the design principles, but also how to grow our own food, how to build community. And I've also, I think I shared these books with you guys. I can't open the link to the class right now. I've also got guides like this, Toolbox for Sustainable City Living, which is a great book for all kinds of information. And I know, again, a lot of you right-wingers, you hear sustainable, oh my God, the United Nations, Agenda 2030, we can't talk about being sustainable, because to be sustainable just means that we, following along with the, you guys are silly. I mean, come on. You have to take things out of the context of the propaganda. Yes, it is true that the United Nations is pushing sustainable development because they want to take control of the land. They want to cram us all into smart cities and all that stuff. But there are people who believe in radical sustainability or other form, permaculture, that are not pushing UN Agenda 2030 propaganda. They just, like myself, want to actually, not grow our food in a way that's destructive and maybe do it in a way that works in balance with the planet. So that's what true sustainability really is about. And then I also have this book, which is going to be a great guide. It's really bright right there. Creating a Life Together, Practical Tools to Grow Eco-Villages and Intentional Communities. And I've showed these before on another stream, but those are going to be great resources. Okay, took me away again. I'm going to continue where I was at. Sometimes, though, you just got to get out there and try stuff. You just got to figure out. You got to really learn how to just put your hands in the dirt. My book, Manifesto of Free Humans, a lot of it was sourced and inspired by Josiah Warren and anarchists from the 1800s who were already doing this. They had intentional communities with no courts, no cops, no crimes. People had gardens in their front yard. I mean, it's really an amazing experiment in intentional communities here in America. For those who don't know, in the early days of America, when things were being settled, there were already people here. In case you don't know, my ancestors were already here. In case you don't hear that, my ancestors were already here, and people were ignoring them. But once the settlers came in, a lot of people were forming intentional communities, and some of them were religious. But Josiah Warren was actually forming communities that were secular. They were not based on religion. They were based on sovereignty of the individual. And so he let people come in and get their own houses, and they had this huge village. And he didn't force people to live by his principles, but he did hold workshops and try to encourage people to live by them. So I'm going to go back and show you guys this picture real quick. And then the last thing I want to share with you guys, because in case I haven't made this clear, I know I've been kind of hopping around. This is what I'm building in Mexico with Miriam. It's not just me, and it's not just going to be me and Miriam. We're going to work with a lot of different people. And we're going to try to use this as the guiding principles. I'm going to open up my email chain real quick and show you guys, if you are interested in Mexico, then this is what you're going to receive. If you contact me, we're going to hit you up with a list of questions, and just to get to know you better. And then we're going to tell you about what we are trying to build. And then from there, you can answer the questions if you like, or if you're like, oh, these are a bunch of dirty communist hippies, I don't want to talk to them. Then you don't have to talk to us. Holy crap, there's a lot of emails. Geez, I have to catch up on this. But I'm going to show you guys my email just so you can see. This is the email that I created just for Mexico and what's going on in Mexico. All of those are new emails I need to get to. These are new emails, and then even these, I don't know if you guys can see, I don't want to show too much, but see this round 3, these are like the third round of people. We have a spreadsheet of like 300 people from around the world who are reaching out and asking questions about Mexico. And I'm going to show you guys the questions that we send out so you can kind of get an example of what we, let me see, of what we send out right here. So what I do first is outline, again, the vision for the Conscious Agora, talking about respect for self-ownership, individual sovereignty, permaculture principles, and mindfulness solutions. Those are just what I showed you there. And off the grid, that we want to build as much off-grid infrastructure as possible. We don't want to be dependent on that communities need to be able to defend themselves. We want to get integrated with the local community. And we have respect for animal life. Miriam and I are vegans. For their food, as food, I do want to coexist with animals. I want to use permaculture to bring more life, to bring in the deer and collaborate and work with them. And I also would like to have an animal sanctuary, animal sanctuary / rescue, because I love all animals, and that's just kind of what I have in mind. So those 8 things: respect for animal life, integration with the local. We don't want to just come in and have some expat community where we never speak Spanish and we're only just in a little English speaking bubble. We want to actually get integrated and connect with the people there. Defense, off-grid, mindfulness solutions, permaculture principles, and respect for individual sovereignty. And then we ask these questions. What is your vision for the community you want to build on? Do you want to share a home, share land, live next to each other? Are you more interested in a temporary, volunteering, or a work trade? What is your time frame for moving and or investing in this project? Would you be living full-time at the community, or would this be a summer / winter home? What resources do you have to offer? This could be skill sets, financial capital, experience, etc. How many people are in your party, ages, relationship, etc., whatever you feel comfortable sharing. And number 6, are there any special specific needs for your party, diet, health, etc.? Because all of those. So one more time, if you're interested in this idea, I need you to email me at exitandbuild@protonmail.com. exitandbuild@protonmail.com. At some point, we probably will have to cut off the email chain. Like, it's just getting overwhelming. As soon as we end this, Miriam and I are going to be going through the Mexico emails to try to get caught up. And then in a few weeks, the people who we feel pretty aligned with, we're going to be hosting a Zoom call. It'll be a private Zoom call. You're not going to hear about it on YouTube. You're not going to hear about it at all unless you email me and you're interested. And we're going to start working on this. I'm headed back to Mexico on Tuesday night with Miriam. We're headed back. We're driving back to Morelia in Michoacan. I saw some people asking where we're going to. we spent 2.5 months from March through the end of May in Morelia with other anarchists, and we started to just fall in love with the land. There's, mountainous areas. We're in a valley surrounded by mountains. It's a small city, small compared to Houston. There's a lake this way. There's, pyramids not far away, mountains over here, small mountain towns where you can go up and fill your water up every day off a spring coming down from the water. And there's land available. And then there's also land a couple hours away. There's a land out a couple hours south. I mean, we went and visited lots of different areas, and we're not 100% certain where we're going to finish, but we're definitely feeling very good about Morelia and what's going on there. And that's where we're headed back to on Tuesday night. And we will continue our search for land there. And as I said, in the next couple of weeks, start having these Zoom calls. And my goal is in the next couple of months, for sure by the end of this year, because it's September, October, November, December, September, October, 4 months left. I would like to have a piece of land purchased, but of course we're not going to rush anything until everything feels perfect. So whether or not you like my vision and you want to try to live on the same piece of land we're on, or right next door to it, or even just in Mexico down the block or something like that, if you're interested, feel free to reach out. We've had lots of people, as I said, reaching out from all over the world, and people who are already in Mexico who want to collaborate in some ways, and people who used to live in Mexico. I mean, it's just been a really good collaborative process. So I'm excited about this, guys. This is going to be a major change for my life. I mean, I'm going to continue to do journalism. I'm going to continue to report, but obviously, as my life shifts more and more towards getting land and preparing for building this Conscious Agora, I'm probably going to have less time to do reporting, and more of my videos are going to focus on permaculture, how to build this thing, how to do this thing, and things that I hope are valuable still to you. I hope you won't leave just because I'm not talking about the drama of pedophilia and political crap all day. I hope you will still see the value in that type of content. And, of course, I'm never going to stop reporting, but I'm just saying I'm going to start increasing the permaculture in my content as time goes on, and as I learn more and I get more integrated. And Ferry, I saw you comment that the deer will eat your plants, and that's totally cool. That's part of the whole idea of permaculture, is that we plant enough, and we do the ecosystems in a way that even we can account for the deer. The deer will come eat some of the food, and we'll be fine, because we will have gone in with that intention and the understanding that there's going to be other creatures and other people who are going to eat as part of this ecosystem. And you say you have 2 fur babies and you can't leave them. Bring them with you. We're bringing our fur baby. We have our rat. He is going to become a Mexican citizen, and well, not really. Forget being a citizen. He will become an illegal immigrant in Mexico. And we're going to continue to just build. So I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be out there starting next week. Hopefully the border is no crazy things. I'll let you guys know how the border goes and what the situation is there, because this is another thing to realize, guys. They've been saying the border has been closed down since March. We drove across, we came back, and I've heard several people saying they've driven back recently, and the media is lying to you. Imagine that. The borders are still open. And this is another good question from Metal Gear. I thought non-Mexican citizens can't own land in Mexico. This is, from what I've seen, a common misunderstanding. It's actually, you cannot own land if you're not a Mexican citizen near the border, or within not the border, like certain amount of miles within the coast, within the coastal range. But within the inner kind of mainland, you can actually own land. I know several Americans who own land in different parts of Mexico, and it's just about making sure you get the deed and you actually own it as much as you possibly can own it, and as much as I don't, like I said, I'm not sure. I believe in private property, but I don't necessarily think that we actually own land. I think we're more here to be stewards. All right, and at this point, I'm just going to take questions for the last few minutes here. I appreciate everybody who's been listening. This is Derrick Broze again with the Conscious Resistance, and we've been going over the Conscious Agora, what we've been calling the Mexico Project. And my hope, though, is that if you guys like this idea, build Conscious Agoras in Romania, build Conscious Agoras up in Vermont, build them, in India, build them in Australia. We need all these different decentralized communities to start flourishing, and we need people to start opting out of these systems. As I said earlier, I don't have any faith in surviving if we just continue business as usual. And unfortunately, a lot of people I know, even bright, brilliant people who see what's happening, are still just continuing on with business as usual. Mary Quite says, the Conscious Resistance, when will you be back? Will you live stream Will Mexico? I will continue to do my videos. I'm not going to stop. When I was in Mexico, I was probably more active than I had been in a while. I was doing constant interviews, for those of you who remember, just a couple months ago. I won't be back if everything goes well. I don't want to be back. As far as the law goes, you can go for 6 months and you're supposed to return, cross the magical line, and you basically come back to the US or wherever, and then you can come back, and then your 6 months starts again. But if the shit hits the fan in the next few months, like I believe it's going to, then I'm not going to come back. I will make a life decision that, hey, if I have to be illegal in Mexico in order to guarantee that me, my family, my loved ones are safe, well, then I guess that's what I have to do, right? I mean, and again, as far as getting past this idea of normalcy, I wish more and more people would start recognizing that we're not in normal times. We are not dealing in normal times. It's not the new normal that they want, but things have definitely changed in the world, and it's only going to progress. They're pushing the Great Reset. We're seeing more and more division in the streets, and now we're seeing a lot of unity too. Like I said, there's amazing millions of people protesting in Berlin and Dublin, and London's getting ready, and there are some small protests here and here in the U.S. against down. Oh my God, so much garbage. Sorry for that. I don't know why it keeps kicking me off. But my point was, what I was saying is that things are getting crazy. And if things go crazy, like I believe they're going to around the time of the election, I don't believe that I'm going to be, I don't believe I'm going to be coming back to the United States. So if the shit hits the fan, I'm going to be in Mexico somewhat semi-permanently. But if things do not get bad as quick, then my plan is to come back to the United States. I have an RV here, grab some family, grab some friends. If things are open and the border stays open, we might make a trip, every couple months and caravan back with whoever's really interested in being involved with this. So that's what the Conscious Agora is. I also, the last point I want to make, and again, this is the last few minutes if you have questions. Sorry for the freezing up and for the the broadcast being interrupted times. But this is also a part of the counter-economic underground railroad, the underground railroad that I'm trying to build and that you got a part of. The Freedom Cell Network is also a place that ideally, as it grows, when you're traveling, you can look on the map and you can find and connect with people, and you can, hey, I'm coming through town. Where are the people who know what's going on? Can you plug me into the permaculture communities or the farmers markets, or just where I can be around some like-minded people? But eventually, if things do progress, as the technocracy grows, and they try to lock those of us out with different opinions, and they try to force biometric IDs and immunity passports and all these things, as that system grows, people are going to continue to leave. I mean, I don't think many people really understand yet, but there are already refugees of the United States. There are people who are openly and purposefully leaving the United States right now because they are concerned with what is going on. And there's people leaving other places. Like, there's people who are trying to get the hell out of Australia right now, but it's basically too late for them. And they're, the Canadian border's closed. There are people who wish that they could leave and go to some better place. That's what I say, exit and build. That's what I'm talking about. Instead of bugging out, we're exiting from one place that might be tyrannical in some ways and heading somewhere else with relatively more freedom to build. So as I establish this community, and I get, I got to take care of my own needs, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I got to make sure I'm taken care of here, and that me and my loved ones are taken care of. I want to collaborate with those of you who want to be involved with this project. I'm going to help you guys get to Mexico if you need help, with no promises. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm not promising you a job. I'm not promising you to take care of you. I'm not promising you to feed you. I'm not promising you anything other than the fact that if you are interested in getting to Mexico, I will help you get there. And if the shit really hits the fan, there will be an underground railroad to get people across the border legally, illegally, people out of harm's way, if and when we come to that point. For the moment, if you're just interested in the community, you want to learn more, rewind and look at the questions before you email me and really think about it. And if you are interested, email me at exitandbuild@protonmail.com and say, Derrick, I just saw your stream. can you send me the questions? And that'll get you started. Get the questions, you can respond to them, and we'll go from there. And as I said, in the next few weeks, we're going to host a Zoom call for people who are really curious or interested in coming to Mexico, or maybe are already in Mexico and want to work together. And then we're going to just go from there. So, and as Toth says here, in order to build, everyone has to share the same goals and a common belief system. And that's true. Without a common belief, you will have just everyone doing their own thing and nothing will get done, which is why I am doing this, I guess you could say, vetting or filtering process. I'm not just saying, hey, everybody, come down to Mexico. And I'm not like some other YouTubers who just say, come down to Mexico, Acapulco or whatever, and actually have no plan or just trying to live up in their own castle. I'm actually trying to be a part of a community of people. That doesn't mean I want to live with all you. Doesn't mean I want to see you every day. Doesn't mean I want to know all your business or all your drama. But if you respect sovereignty of the individual, self-ownership, if you respect permaculture and working with the planet and trying to work in harmony with the planet, and if you're interested in elevating your consciousness and empowering yourself and becoming a better person and holding each other accountable, then let's see if we can work together. All right, guys. I'm going to leave it. I think you better start talking some Jesus cult ideology if you're going to gather up anyone in Alabama. I don't really care. Come out, Alabamans. You're welcome to first if you're like already ahead of you. All right. I think this shit is freezing up again. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but if you can't hear me, then I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. It might have frozen once more. And if it did freeze, okay, cool. Didn't freeze. All right, guys. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Let me get a stupid question. It says, Mexico. It seems the Jews and the Belt and Road is going to comprehend. So he's talking about the Belt and Road project. And Mexico is part of the West Mexico-Canada agreement. I will say that, the one that Trump signed. Eventually, the global world order is going to come for you everywhere you go. I agree with that. There might not be anywhere we can hide. I'm not trying to hide, though. I'm trying to build. That's the difference. I'm not running away. I'm not trying to hide. We're building. I'm being proactive and thinking ahead. Because if you wait till the shit hits the fan, there won't be where to go to. You won't have anything to fight for because they will take everything from you. So I'm trying to be proactive, start the building process now. I kind of wish I would have started sooner, but better late than never. Start the building process now. Start connecting with like minds. Start establishing a network of safe homes and safe communities and safe spots for people as they travel and they want to come to Mexico. And my advice is, if you see the same problems happening in your country or your state or wherever, start trying to do the same thing. Use the Freedom Cell Network. Use your own freaking natural God-given gifts and go out there and reach people and connect with people. Stop sitting on your ass. Stop waiting for me or somebody else to solve it for you. Not that I would think my audience is sitting on their ass. I know you guys are very proactive. I know you guys are very forward thinking. Otherwise, you wouldn't have found your way here. You wouldn't be consuming this kind of content. So without further ado, unless there are any questions, I'm going to be out of here. Will there, exactly, Rika, Buckminster Fuller, build a new model. And this is interesting too. I've seen people say like the Amish and the Mennonites, they do it. They're a perfect example of people who are off grid and free from the system. But yeah, they got that whole patriarchal, like, father knows best, government knows, religion knows best type thing. And I'm not about that. So, all right, guys, until next time, thank you for watching. Please, once again, Control D, visit theconsciousresistance.com, hit Control D. If you started this late, go back to the beginning, because the very beginning of this video, I spent a few minutes going over all of my content from this past week, and I make those videos and write these articles for you. So please, if you got some time, any more time to squeeze in tonight, or maybe you got some time this weekend, find some time to watch my content. If it appeals to you, share it. And until next time, guys, you know the deal. I appreciate you so much. I'm very thankful for all of you. And we're going to wrap this up with this new awesome intro/outro that we have. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free.
This is Derrick Broze. This is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance. I'm here in Standing Rock.
That man is wanted in 5 different countries: Chile, Argentina, Brazil.
We've been fighting a long time. We've all lost so very much. So many loved ones gone.
Don't you fucking tease that horse!
You are not alone. There are pockets of